On today's episode of That Mental Drinker Show, we are talking to comedian and podcast host Tom Myers. I've been trying to get Tom on the podcast for a while, and just due to unforeseen circumstances, it's never worked out. But like every good thing, it comes to those who wait. Tom was worth the wait. Fantastic guy, brilliant comedian, fellow ginger. What's not to love about him? So let's get into the episode. You'll enjoy it as much as I did.
All right, troops.
Tom, an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast, my friend. But for anybody that has been trying to keep track of my regular social media updates, I've been trying to get this guy on the line like a fish for the last few times. It has just not seemed to work out on my end. I have to apologize for that up front. It's been a pain in the backside, but I'm so glad that you've been able to come on there.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, I think really it was just I think your country and mine haven't been able to agree on when daylight savings time started. I think that was really the only obstacle, I think.
Yeah, but like everything, blame the British. It's our fault for almost everything. Look, we enslaved like 60 countries, so yeah. What just blame us. We're clearly not nice people. We don't like slavery. Don't do that. I've got to ask.
We've dabbled in it. We dabbled in it for a little bit over here, and we're kind of
like everything that America does when they do like a recreation of a British enterprise. It doesn't last as long, but it has a great impact.
Are you talking like The Office or something?
The Office had had longevity and a big impact, because the British Office had impact, but it was only 2 seasons. Or series, we call it in Britain.
Right.
Whereas yours was The Office in America was 10 seasons?
I think so. And our TV seasons have, I think, like twice as many episodes as yours do over there. So it's like we love, like, you know, your country is sort of a great bastion of history and culture, whereas ours is just like mind-numbing entertainment on TV and tits and arse, as you say over there.
In fairness, I was okay with the mind-numbing TV over there. Well, I remember going. I've been to America twice. I've been to Las Vegas for my family, and Florida for my honeymoon with my wife. And I loved American TV, but one thing that really confused me was the amount of adverts.
Well,
I mean, it's like over in Britain, what we have, we'll start the program, and about 10 minutes, 15 minutes in, so about the halfway point, we'll stop, adverts, carry on to the end. America, it's like, show the start part, like 2 minutes, then 2 minutes of adverts, then show the introduction, and another 2 minutes, then adverts. And I was like, my OCD brain style cannot compete with this.
Well, there's a comedian who just passed away named Barry Crimmins. He talked about how we had a movie where we have a channel called the USA Channel, and it used to be he said they would show 5 minutes of movie, 5 minutes of commercials, then 5 minutes of movie, 5 minutes of commercials. He says it was a murder mystery. He says he wasn't able to figure who did it, but he thought it was done with a Ginsu knife.
Wow. That's amazing. It's like
there's an American comedian by the name of Bill Hicks, who I absolutely love and still listen to stuff to this day. He coined the United States, the US of A, the United States of advertising. So that's kind of where we are.
There's lots of things I love about what American advertising in particular, especially that you're so openly advertised pharmaceutical drugs.
I mean, how else do you think we put up with each other? You know, I mean, it's
with the amount of side effects that you've got for them, man. The fact the side effects last longer than an average theme song credit is brilliant. It's like, I'm pretty sure like Eminem just made a rap from side effects of like the drugs that he was on, and that's how he came up with like Rap God. He just crammed it all in. Theory.
That's a good theory.
It would work. Well, I love doing parodies of them over here because you can tell who watches American programs, because some people will go, wow, that's fantastic. And other people go, I don't get it. Why would they put out a drug if they hadn't already tested it for side effects? And I'm like, they've tested it for side effects. They're just warning you. This is all the stuff that we put in a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of paper that size that we can't read. Well, at least you guys are upfront and saying, you say anal leakage. We know.
Well, it's only in, I think, one product, I think, over here, to be fair. I mean, let's not, if you take like a pill for a headache or something, then it's not a common side effect that you shit your pants. I mean, that's not, that doesn't.
It's good to know that things have come a long way since 2016.
Yeah, we've certainly changed since then.
Yes. I do also
like the good and the bad.
I do like how a lot of your medication as well is flavored. Well, like we normally just have, this is crap, take it. But if you get flavored stuff, it won't work, is their analogy. Most of your stuff has some sort of flavoring in it.
Spice.
Yes, I never knew what pumpkin spice was.
Pumpkin spice. Like you could have like the worst, like you could have Brussels sprouts, but if you advertise like pumpkin flavor or pumpkin spice Brussels sprouts, kids might actually eat them.
Yeah, it's something so weird. I never even knew what pumpkin spice was. I barely knew what a pumpkin was until I started realizing about Halloween from American TV. I was like, wait, there's something else that's ginger that they get a knife to and carve in it and scoop the insides out. That is probably what, if those bullies of mine had found that out sooner, I wouldn't be alive today. They would have scooped me out. It's crazy. One thing I've got to ask, the background, what you told me about before we went on air was a place of your favorite comedy club. So enlighten my audience what your favorite comedy club is. Where is it?
Yeah, well, this is my favorite local comedy club. It is, it's called the Lou Costello Room. It's upstairs in a restaurant called Zissimo's in the Hampden neighborhood of Baltimore, Maryland. So those are your listeners who need a frame of reference. It's like, if you know where New York is, it's about, I think, 3 hours south of the city if you go by train, and then like 45 minutes north of Washington, D.C. So it's along the East Coast, or the northeast coast of the States.
Nice. One thing I've got to ask, when you're driving, have you ever encountered a roundabout?
Oh yeah, I mean, they have them all over, at least where I live anyway, because I think the area where I live, it's increased exponentially in size, because I live in a suburban area, and with just the influx of people moving in from like cities, places like that, the roundabouts they're just easier for us anyway to handle the excess traffic that comes about. And there's one road near where I live where it's like every few streets it's a roundabout, and they seem to move traffic along quite nicely, at least here anyway, even though Maryland drivers have a notoriously bad reputation. I mean, thanks to me. and my, not thanks to my driving, but thanks to my my stand-up. A lot of my fans know me as, oh, he's the guy who talks about Maryland because he's from there. Yeah, well, I do.
That kind of, I mean, I've only very briefly dabbled in comedy, but don't you talk about what you know, and that's what makes it funny? It's meant to be relatable, because if I was talking about, say, if I said I was driving down the freeway, they'd be like, where did you go to America? You're not American. So they wouldn't get it. But if I said I was driving down the motorway, which is British version of a freeway, they'd be like, oh, what one are you driving down? I'm like, there you go. He gets it. That's my guy. Yeah. Or girl,
it's like,
or poster.
Well, it's like with certain vernacular over here. I'm just like, no. If you say over there, he's walking outside in his pants, like pants is slang for underwear, whereas we hear that in the States, it's like, what's a big deal, Yeah,
just like,
but then if you see if you see how Americans dress when like we go to Walmart, I mean, there's no distinction.
If I send you a picture of what Scotland looks like when it gets to 10 degrees Celsius, all of a sudden everybody's like, taps off weather, get the taps off, we'll get a tan. And oh my God. It looks like what
you and me both. I mean, I took one of those Ancestry DNA swabs earlier, and I got it back recently. My DNA or the makeup is 34% Scottish. So yes. I've got the strong, like a lot, like pretty much all of my relatives, like 97% of my DNA is congregated around the North Sea. So, you know, none of my family could tan.
Brilliant. That's the best way to be. I always say that to people because they go, but they always laugh at me. So like, ha ha, you're white. I go, ha ha, you've got skin cancer.
I mean, with me, just walking out without sunblock on, or you know, for some people it's classified as carelessness. With my complexion, that's classified as attempted suicide. It's a nightmare.
Oh, brilliant. It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. But, and for any of my followers, for some reason, my clock is saying remaining time. And I'm like, why is it giving me a remaining time? I do not get this. This never happens to me. The whole point of it being two people is that it's not meant to do this. Two people is meant to be unlimited. It's not meant to be like, oh, now we have to take you off. I don't get this. Like, and it's saying upgrade to pro. I don't want to upgrade to pro. I can't afford it. I have no money. So I really hate to do this to you guys. I'm going to have to, we will do a cut. I don't like doing edits, as you know, but I'll have to do a cut here where we will log off, we will log back in, and we will solve this problem. And if I can't solve this problem, I'm going to officially say that Tom Myers is jinxed.
Honestly, with my reputation, I'm used to it.
Well, don't worry, my friend. We're going to take a slight pause for the recording, my faithful followers. Get this issue resolved and be right back. And we're back,
everybody. Oh,
hey, that's all right, my friend. What? We're working the cultural divide right here. For my faithful followers, I am really sorry that we had to do a cut there. Zoom will be having a talking to, because I cannot afford right now to invest in it. And it's the first time it's ever happened, Tom. I sincerely apologize. Zoom will get its butt kicked very soon.
You know what? I mean, honestly, with my reputation and just as much shit has gone wrong at shows where I've performed, this is honestly nothing new. So, I mean, I welcome these little technical gremlins, these little mishaps.
We walk those fine lines, my friend, but I pride myself on my professionality. I feel like it has been getting shat on from a great height. But so since we didn't get into the origin story, let's jump into it right now, Tom, and tell my faithful followers your origin story.
Well, how I got into stand-up pretty much is it started as a defense mechanism. It's my comedic training, my practical comedic training, as it were, began in the men's locker room of Falston High School in Falston, Maryland, where I grew up and still live. Basically, I would come prepped with, I think, one street joke or just one joke a day to tell the upperclassmen. This is while I was a freshman and sophomore in school, and I would go ahead and tell those jokes, and I would avoid getting my ass kicked for that particular day. So, I mean, really, it was like that show Kill or Be Killed. I mean, I lived it for my high school years, and I mean, I'd always been into comedy. Like I'd always been. This sounds kind of cliche, but I mean, my family's sense of humor was inspired by, Monty Python and all sorts of like British culture and shows and theatrical stuff and things like that. So my family had always been stage performers, not professionally, just on an amateur level, but I grew up around that. And I'd always been intrigued by stand-up, just one person standing like on a stage talking into a microphone and getting a reaction. Just the idea of being up there by oneself intrigued me. So I decided I'd go ahead and give that a shot. I think I was the first person in my family to actually do like stand-up as a kind of theatrical thing. So that was, I think, 20 some years ago, and I've still kept at it.
I'm just glad that you were able to use it as a defense mechanism, because I had to tell the jokes to the bullies while they were kicking the crap out of me.
Yeah, I mean, well, they say timing is everything. So like on stage, you have to be really quick, because if you know, in front of an audience, if you pause, or if it looks like you're losing confidence, or you're not really believing your stuff at all, then the audience will, verbally or using their body language kind of kick your ass, as it were. Yeah, so definitely. I mean, that's that kind of thing's important.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I have noticed about good comedians is that good comedians tend to court a little bit of controversy. And one thing I've noticed from your socials, you seem to do that quite well. It's like, I love reading it. I think it's awesome. but what? How does that kind of come about? Like, is it just guys just generally being dickheads?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is over on the other side of the Atlantic as well. But here, it's like everybody has an opinion about something. And if like I have a very rabid fan base, which I love and support them. For that, I appreciate their support. Like they bought my CDs, they subscribed to my Patreon and stuff like that, and I absolutely love them for it. But some of them, though, like if you express an opinion or if you do a joke that kind of deviates from what their preconceived notion of you is, then they sort of take that as like they don't know what to do with that information. It's like something short circuits and they immediately have to fire back. It's like, I mean, you don't absolutely have to agree with, 100% of everything I say. Otherwise, get some serious mental help. Like if you're a fan of mine and, you agree with, 9 or 10 out of 12 things that I say, I mean, that's great. You shouldn't absolutely agree with 100% of everything I say. Now, I do like when people laugh at 100% of every single joke I make. That's okay. That's the caveat to my little spiel here.
I was just actually going to ask, was that going to be the one piece of advice you would give to anybody struggling with mental health? So like, don't 100% listen to me, seek professional help if that's the case.
Well, I found, comedians they're mentally like tweaked. There's just the idea something is up with them. Like anybody who is just narcissistic enough to say, I'm going to go ahead and stand on a stage by myself, have a microphone, which will completely amplify my voice to an entire room. And everybody here is going to listen to me and like it. Like that kind of mentality, like there has to be, like that's really not healthy. I mean, I do it and I'm happy to do it and I enjoy it, but just any other profession, I mean, you'd have, or just, I don't stand up or acting or any kind of performing arts. I mean, you have to have that. I mean, your confidence level has to be through the roof, almost to the point where you're cocky almost.
Yeah, pretty much. But there's something that I have noticed, like especially doing this podcast, because I like to get people that are in the arts on as guests, like actors, musicians, comedians, etc., etc. Well, and one thing that I notice is what the success rate of getting comedians on this podcast is 90% of getting to come on is actually stick to their gun. Well, actors, they can fluctuate. Well, it can be if they're not feeling too great, if they're having an off day, something happens. Most of the time, I can't make it. Fair dues. Musicians, you'll normally, if you're getting a band, you'll normally get 3/4 of them. Normally one's too hungover to come, which is fair to. What they're like, oh, where's Lewis? Oh, he's got a hangover. Figures. That's okay. We got 3 of you. That ain't bad. What?
Yeah.
Well, but with
it's International Guitar Month. He's the bass player. He hardly gets laid. Let him enjoy it. You know.
Yeah. Have you noticed that like there's a day for everything now? There's like a national or an international day, like for every day on the calendar. I was discussing this with my wife. This is my tangent. We love tangents on this podcast. Tangents are our friends.
Oh, good. I got about 90 of them.
Hey, brilliant. Well, we can do another couple of cuts if the time runs out. Zoom. I'm looking at Zoom here. You disgust me, Zoom, for doing this to me. Well, so we can cover the tangents. It's all good. We watch you. We watch you, Zoom. We know that you watch us when we sleep at night. That's why I sleep. That's why I sleep naked, to traumatize you.
I don't need Zoom to record that I beat off every night at 3:15 a.m. I know that.
Or if you're a recent British politician, you just go into the House of Commons and get caught watching it on your phone in front of everybody. It's great. British politics has officially become the thick of it. It's fantastic.
Or if you're a Republican politician here, then you have that. Like a lot of our conservative politicians, like a lot of their texts are coming out about like what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. The most amazing thing about the texts that were released is that none of them were dick pics sent to their mistresses.
Wow. I'm actually quite shocked at that. I think it's because
me too.
I think it's because they just all have really tiny micro penises.
If you believe that nude Trump statue that was up in like various parts of the country, then that may be true.
I just thought that was a carrot with a deformity. I actually did once find the carrot.
Speaking of pumpkins,
like I had that. Hey, it's like the carrot and 2 pumpkins. That could be another podcast if I get a couple other gingers on. The carrot and 2 pumpkins. Well, we're coming up with comedy gold, my friend. We are coming up with it.
Oh yeah.
See, that's how much we love tangents. We had a tangent about a tangent from a tangent.
Damn straight.
Yep, that is Deadpool meta shit right there. We will get that. We will get that.
Very meta. Very meta.
I'm just in a silly mood today. I can't help it. I think it's because I haven't slept properly in a few days. Like I had a D&V bug, so that's knocked me for 6. But in fairness, it meant that I could start my diet a month early.
What now? What is D&V? What was that stand for?
Diarrhea and vomiting.
Oh,
it's one thing that I've never understood, like with D&V, like because you call it D&V, but when you say it to people, you go vomiting and diarrhea. But then again, if you called it VD,
yeah,
you can have that one for free, my friend. You can have that.
In this country, we just say, "Yeah, I got a bug." That's it.
Yeah,
it's just shorter letters, like shorter words.
Yeah,
got a bug. Not even a complete sentence. It's like that bug.
It's like one word, bug. Well, but it has the same letters as DNV. It works out quite well. Well, we're very good at shortening things down for everybody. Yeah, I love it. But yeah, one thing I've noticed is that everything seems to be like there's a national day for everything. Like there was like recently over here there was National Tea Day. Well, and I'm like, why is there a day for tea?
You drink it every day over there already, don't you? It's like you have a designated time for it. Why does it need its own day?
Yeah, it's like because we've got like the tea, as in like we have that, we call it tea time. That's essentially dinner. What, and then you have the actual cup of tea. And
right.
It's like we have like one word and it describes like 2 or 3 different things. It's like I've got some Canadian cousins and what they want to know about like their Scottish kind of roots, so they've been wanting to learn about Scottish like vocabulary. And then they're like, wait, what do you call your eye? And I'm like, call your eye. How do you say yes? We say I. But that doesn't make sense. So, but we say I as in A-Y-E. That's I for yes. And then we have I, which is E-Y. You're a
I tell you
strange
what,
lot. And I'm like, yes, we are.
yeah, I mean, I helped run a Mexican restaurant for 8 years, and the word for chicken is pollo, spelled Pollo.
Hmm.
The word for they have a word for another kind of food, repollo, Repollo, but it's cabbage. So it's like there's no fucking pollo in there. Why are you calling it repollo? Call it something else.
It's so odd, isn't it? Like, it's like I had a couple of lovely women on that were from a menopause support group. Which for me, being a straight white guy, it was totally out of my zone of expertise. So I wanted to know a lot of stuff. And there's and like
a lot of tangents on those a lot of tangents on that episode, I bet.
So, yeah, that was the one where it was timed. It was timed down. We had to make sure. But it was one of the things that, like everything else, there's like three stages, And I was expecting to say pre-menopause, menopause, post-menopause. I got 2 out of 3 right. But they call the pre-menopause, they call it perimenopause. So me being me, I was like, but these aren't chicken. It's like, it sounded like a shit dish from Nando's over here, a chicken restaurant. And they were like, I never thought of that. I was like, I'm like, yeah, why is everything else like pre what it is and then post? But for menopause specifically, the pre is peri. It boggled my brain, and I'm so glad it boggled their brain too. So I didn't think that I was totally nuts.
So you didn't look like a total pig or a total misogynist for not knowing this stuff.
Not total. I was like maybe like 60% what just uneducated. I always say it to people as a joke that I identify myself as an accidental racist. And it's purely because like I'm not racist in the slightest, but I'm not book smart or street smart. I need to know like the things that I can say and the things that I can't say. Like, like I know like the big ones. It's like, don't say this, don't say this. I'm like, I know the big ones, all cool. But sometimes there's vernacular that I wouldn't have grown up with or have heard that can be offensive to other cultures or other people. And I'm like, if I don't know it and someone doesn't tell me it, how am I going to know? And a prime example was I remember when Clerks 2 came out, like the Kevin Smith film, and there was the whole thing about the monkeys. We'll just say the monkeys. But I never knew that was a slur. Didn't have a clue. I was in the Dante camp there. But it wasn't a case of like, he was told, it just meant lazy people rather than lazy African American people. Yeah. It's like he didn't so I just didn't have a clue about it at all. And I'm like, where has this come from? Where did it come from? Why have I not been educated on this? Why is my history shit?
See, I had a different experience with it growing up because I live in an area that's like 90% white. I still live in that area. Yeah. But I knew a lot about those terms just because I never used them, but like some kids when I was growing up and going to school, and then customers who would come in at where I worked while I was in school, like they would use those terms and just sort of bandy them about in normal conversation, just among themselves. Obviously, like they didn't actually go out and call Black people these words or non-white people certain terms, but it was just like amazing. And I felt, at the time I felt like kind of an outsider, just because I thought to myself, okay, like, why are you like, this is wrong. Like I didn't condone the use of those words at all. And then I've now found that, okay, no, you are normal. Like there's a whole lot of people who think those terms are offensive, and you're not strange. You're actually in the majority, thankfully.
So it was always good to know that type of thing, because I would always worry, like, am I thinking the wrong thing here? Is it not right? Like, why have I not been kind of educated on like what's okay and not okay? Another example was a good friend of mine that I worked with in my day job with Manny. Shout out, brother, miss you. Well, and like we were talking about his like, you know, how he grew up. Like we were talking about his origin story. Essentially, it was like training for the podcast. I never even realized it. Well, so I was just talking about his life, and he came from Africa, then moved to London, then moved to Scotland, and I was asking like what his parents did, and he was like, "Oh, his father was a preacher. Well, was like a reverend." And me being me, I was like, if I find something I find fascinating, I will ask loads of questions on it until you tell me to stop. Well, and one of the questions was like, did your father do the sermons like our sermons in Britain, where it's just all dull, dreary, you're going to hell, you're going to die, that's you? It's like, or did he do the ones that you see on the TV where it's all the singing, the dancing, we're going to have church, way, all that stuff? Me just thinking, I'm wanting to hear comparisons about religion, and how they interpret it. My colleagues are all going, oh no, he is just going down a proper racist road, thinking that all black people just do all the preachy racial songs. And I'm like, no, I just genuinely wanted to know what he did. But Manny understood that and just explained it. And told me it was a bit of both. It would depend on like what it was covering in his sermon. And I'm like, that's cool. Would like to know that. And it opened up like a good debate. And there were a couple of people at the table about religion, because we had a guy who was Islamic, but he was white. And I was like, okay, how did that come about? Tell me about it. Well, I wanted to know a bit about it as well. And everybody's looking at me like, you don't ask someone why they chose the religion they chose. And I'm like, why not? It's like asking what football team do you support. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to know. I'm not going to judge. I just want to know. So that's why I always say I'm accidentally racist, because people can think what I'm saying is interpreted as being racism, but it's curiosity to know, right, this is what I need to know. This is where the line is. I will not cross it.
I mean, I think you're being a little hard on yourself in that regard, because I think there's like, it's one thing to just not know something and then say it or use an expression. And then if someone tells you, hey, it's wrong, and here's why, then you stop. As opposed to just, it's wrong, but you want to be a dick and just do it anyway. I mean, in my mind, you're either a racist or you're not. Like, you can't be just a little bit, because I mean, even just that would be unacceptable.
Yeah.
You're either, it's just one way or the other. So ease up, brother. Ease up. You're don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah. It's just like, I always just think is like, I'm not like, I can't just have like, just try a little bit of racism and see how you go. It's not like a starter. It's not like a starter meal. You go like, I'm just going to try this little bit of racism right here. No, I'm not fancying that one. Let's try this racism. This one's going quite well. Yeah. I like this type of racism.
I love how we've gone on at length. It's like two of the palest whoever done Zoom shows are talking about, here's what racism is. Like, this episode could go viral in so many ways.
In fairness, like, I get canceled so many times, they've still not killed me. What? It's like I am the YouTube equivalent of a cockroach. They have not got rid of me yet. They have not found a way to kill me. I'm still alive. Even that includes the death threats that I got. It's brilliant.
See, I get the death threats too. Yeah. But then I get the prayers from sort of right-wing groups over here. So it's like they kind of balance out. It's like the prayers kind of help put off the death threats for now. So it's like a balance.
Is it true? Like, but you'll get like death threats off the left, but then the right will pray for you. What kind of thing? Is it like that kind of balance? Which one would you prefer? Would you prefer getting a death threat or a prayer?
Well, I mean, my own personal experience, I mean, I lean like slightly to the left of Karl Marx in terms of my thinking. So so I mean, a lot of my stuff is a lot of the hatred of the vitriol has come from like really the like they're and just apps like people who can't necessarily comprehend what I'm doing or who can't deduce what I'm trying to say or even know what I'm trying to say, even though I'm presumably speaking the same language they are. I speak English, they speak English. So I don't quite get it. It's like they say, I think I brought up Barry Crimmins before. He said something along the lines of, people look at you, oh, the joke sucks. I'd say, no, your brain's faulty,
Yeah, very true. It's like, I mean, I don't know which one I prefer because like I've had 3 death threats, but I'm still alive. I'm like,
right.
well, clearly you guys suck at following through in your plans.
Well, it's amazing because what do they say in comedy? It's the rule of 3. Like the third death threat is supposed to be the one that should
have been the one that got me killed. Well, and it was all over Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh shit!
Yep.
You're having problems with a lot of Thomases, like me getting on Zoom, shitting the bed on you, and now, the whole Thomas the Tank Engine thing. I mean,
it was brilliant. It's like, I'm a massive Thomas the Tank Engine fan. For shits and giggles, I started doing like wee videos like top 10 best episodes, worst episodes, stuff like that, and one of my old channels ages ago. I was like, I'm bored, why not? I did a top 10 worst engines video, and I put Thomas in that list. And I said, Thomas is such a ball bag. What? And I said that, and then sure enough, that gets clipped. It goes viral in the Thomas community. I get 3 death threats, 2 cancellation attempts. I was surprised I didn't get the partridge in the fucking pear tree.
I mean, I was a massive Thomas fan when I was a kid.
You've got to come on my podcast, The Ginger Engine. You've got to come on. I'll get you more work, my friend.
Yeah, I'll start getting your death threats in addition to my own. Is that what you're saying? Like, is that what
I am an equal death threat opportunist.
There you go.
Well, doesn't matter who it is, as long as you get the same death threats as me, we're all right.
Nice.
Yeah, it's quite fun. It just is so funny. I was like getting these death threats because I'd said that, and I'm like, guys, did you realize you doing this actually gave me more attention than if you just left it alone and didn't bother with it?
Yeah.
Well, and it got me like so many different views for more videos on it and stuff like that. So much so that when I stopped doing them, people were like, "Oh, I really liked your videos. Why aren't you doing them?" So then I was like, that's because I'm bringing out a full podcast, The Ginger Engine. Like and subscribe, everybody, if you haven't already, for God's sake. And now the ultimate joke on those guys, I'm doing a full video on why I think Thomas is a ball bag. Which was voted by the public.
Well, it's weird because it's like a lot of the fan base that I've had is just from people who go on their podcasts and just completely shit all over me. And then they'll go on, they'll check out my stand-up, and they'll say, wait a minute, I mean, he's actually quite good. Like he's not, and then they'll go ahead and turn against the people that they used to like, who shat on me and who like me more. So I mean, the haters, believe it or not, they actually bring out a lot of fans. I mean, you actually saw that in Lenny Bruce, where he's now considered like one of the most regarded comics of all time.
Yeah,
but only because I think he was literally hassled to death by law enforcement and the court system. Whereas if he hadn't been, I mean, he probably would have kept going on and would have died later than he did, and probably not been as well known. I mean, he certainly wouldn't have been the First Amendment martyr that he is today.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, and it's just what the haters think, that by being hateful that they'll always win. Sometimes it has the reverse effect. They go after the wrong targets. Well, and in fairness, like for everybody that is like wondering how Tom and I know each other, we had the privilege of being on a build together on a Zoom gig. And what I managed to get onto the gig in time after getting my kids to bed that I could see him perform. And you're one funny motherfucker, man. It was brilliant.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Well, I really enjoyed it. That's why when I seen all these trolling and threads and stuff, I'm like, have any of these guys even watched his set? It's fucking good.
I know. It's just like I'm just asking you to give me give me 5 minutes. It's
like give me 5 minutes of your time. Let me get some stuff off my chest. If you laugh, I'll write it down and torture some more people with it. Simple. Well, I really enjoyed it. That's why I was like, why are so many people hating on this guy? Because he's cool. Well, and then started obviously following you in the socials, went doing all the my market research, or it's just basically called stalking. Well, it's just stalking.
Join the club. You're on the list. I think in terms of the Tom Myers Stalker Club, you are member number 11689-C or something like that.
Unacceptable. I need to get higher. How did I get higher on this list? I've invited you on the podcast. That's got to get me up a few levels.
It's what it says on your membership card, dude. Sorry about that. Yeah, nothing I can do about it.
Man, you've got to get a tier system like a proper cult. You've got to do it. What? It's like if this episode brings in more followers to you, can I get like an upgrade? What move up to like, instead of just being like the guy that can go with a wee heart post and go, oh, I liked your stuff. I can go up to, I am the man who knows this guy. I could be like
I could probably get you health and dental. Like that's the best I can do.
I'll take it.
Those are the various. Well, I mean, you have a better healthcare system than we do. So I mean, that would be kind of. I'll think of something.
Not dental. I mean, we're British. Our teeth suck.
Put it this way, I'll get you to a climate that's nice for more than 2 weeks out of the year. How about that?
In fairness, I would be okay with that. Just move me to Ireland. It's literally like Scotland with slightly better weather. And being drunk all the time is seen as socially acceptable rather than like just an average day.
I mean, yeah, and that's the weird part because I'm also Irish as well. So like on my mother's side of the family, we were descended from Scottish coal miner stock. Nice. And my father's side of the family is descended from Irish immigrants. So just the alcoholism from both of those was just absolutely raging. In fact, that was sort of one of the reasons why I got sober more than 10 years ago.
Congratulations on being 10 years sober, man. Like, that is a difficult feat to achieve. Well, I am at the time of this recording, I am coming up 9 years sober.
Oh, nice.
As well.
Awesome.
But, yeah. It's like I've had the odd slip, like, my wedding, but I never got like to the case where I was hammered like before, like as like I didn't like have a hangover or anything like that. I did obviously celebrate because like I'm not doing this again. Even if I get divorced, I'm not doing this again. So it was like drink then, that's it. And that's the one that I've had in those 9 years. Since I got like went to hospital and stuff. But yeah, that's really commendable, man. Well done.
Well, this is thank you. Well, this is like 10 continuous years, like no drop at all. And this is the first bout of sobriety that I've had where it's been more than a year. So I mean, it was definitely a struggle at times, but
yeah,
I think that's what they say in AA and the various recovery programs. It's like your sobriety time starts when you had your last drink, or you did your last bit of drugs, or whatever the case may be. And my last drop of alcohol that I had was December 30th, 2011. Wow. And it prompted it. Well, what prompted was some drunk in a parking lot after a gig tried to fight me after the show. And I don't know if he suddenly lost consciousness as he was getting ready to take a swing at me. But he ended up collapsing in the parking lot. And I just looked down at his unconscious body and I said, okay, I'm I'm going home. Like I've had enough tonight. So I went home, and then I woke up the next morning and said, that's it, not doing it again. So, and I really think it's actually, I mean, talking about mental health, I mean, it's actually helped me out a little bit in that regard, because they say whatever is going on like inside of you at the time, alcohol always increases it exponentially. Like if you're really happy, then you're an increasingly happy drunk. Like if you're just mean and bitter, you're in a bad mood, then it brings you down into a deeper funk. Like I've heard stories, like I have very few vivid memories of this, but I've heard stories where like I would just get blitzed after like a few beers and go up and perform and just walk entire like, tables in various clubs and restaurants, which I think kind of increased my reputation as being someone that you wouldn't necessarily want to book. I think some venues are still operating under that to this day, but I mean,
but at the same time, that was 10 years ago, man. A lot has changed in 10 years. What, not just like, what was it with yourself? What, again, hats off to you, man. What for?
Apparently my transgressions were so egregious, maybe that you need more than 10 years to get over some stuff like that.
In fairness, my brother had an issue with alcohol, and there's some things I still can't forgive that SOB for. I love him dearly, but we're cool and stuff like that. But yeah, he had a wee bit of an issue with alcohol. But at the same time, in Scotland, they just say that that's just an average weekend. That's what they used to say with that. It was like Scotland was always had that attitude of like alcohol was like a must. It was like as necessary as like, actual water. And I was like, I was like, I don't like it. I don't like who it makes me, who I become when I'm on it. Well, I don't like feeling out of control. It's not for me. It took me, I would always feel pressured and not stable doing it. Well, until one day I just say, I tried to take my own life. When it was a combination, like, the drink and the drugs and all that kind of stuff, and that I done. To try and take my life, and then after that, I just thought, fuck it, I can't let myself get in this state anymore.
No, you gotta avoid it. And I mean, ironically enough, it was right after that I got into running a restaurant. My name's on the liquor license of this restaurant, so I'm just completely surrounded by booze for like a long time. And then of course the various clubs that you go into, the various comedy clubs, everybody's drinking, but you just me anyway, I have to stay in my own little bubble and just have like water or ginger ale or tonic water, something like that.
Do they have any, like in America, do they have any like alcohol free kind of nights? Well, it's something that I've only just discovered. Someone that I had on the show, Donna Boyd, and she's a recovering like addict, and she runs alcohol free like dances and alcohol free comedy gigs, and like called Freed Up, and they're brilliant, and the whole thing is no alcohol at all, not even alcohol free beer or alcohol free ciders, nothing like that. Because that's the stigma they're trying to break, that you don't need it, even the taste of it, to have a good time. And I thought, this is so refreshing. And hopefully if I can get these that are sorted, I will be able to get along to it and go to it, because it just sounds like a place where I wouldn't feel so lonely. I would always feel like that. Like I would have to have my car keys with me at all times. So I'd be like, well, I'm driving. Can't drink, get the car. Or I'm up at a gig tomorrow. Have to be on my A game, all that kind of stuff. You were creating excuses constantly to justify that you weren't getting drunk and being an ass.
Well, my only experience with alcohol-free comedy is like there's only a couple shows. One was at a senior center, and it was in the middle of the afternoon, and then another was at a was at a hospital cancer survivor celebration ceremony, which I still to this day have no idea how they found me to book me for that. But
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much, I mean, I don't know what it's like in the UK, but in the States anyway, I mean, they just encourage as much drinking as possible, you know, just to let let loose and let the laughs flow. Man, that's there's the joke that we're always funnier when people are drunk. So and for a while there, I was the only way I would be able to get up on a stage, depending on the gig, was I would just have to have, you know, a few beers or beer and whiskey was my weakness. So I'd have a few beers, a couple shots, and then I'd be able to get up on stage. And for, I'd say about 6 months after I quit, it was like rough to perform, but without that crutch, after a while, I ended up getting used to it.
That's brilliant though, man, like that you're able to do it. Like, and when I did like performing and stuff like that, when I did the acting and stuff, I couldn't go on the stage with a drink in me at all. It was something that I was like, nope, can't do it. But most people were like, oh, I'm nervous, so I need like a wee shot of courage. And I was like, no, because my brain would be like, if you mess up one fucking line and you're the only person that knows the lines of everybody in the entire play, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And they're fucked. And you're all fucked. Granted, that wasn't the case. Everybody knew their lines and they were all really good at what they did. But my brain was wired like that, thinking like, if you take this responsibility on, you won't pressure yourself to do that. You won't do that. The difference was when I was singing, terrified to sing in public, absolutely terrified. The only way I could do it was when I was drunk. Well, and then you realize you're not a good singer when you're drunk. But then I was like,
a lot of American bar goers, when they do karaoke, they have yet to come to that realization that they sing like shit, sober or not.
Yeah. I think that's what when you can tell when someone's actually a singer, when they do a song drunk and then they wake up next morning and go, oh God, I did murder that song. Why did I think I could sing that song? and mine's was when I did Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine. And Guns N' Roses is my favorite band of all time. And I went up and I was drunk and I thought I could sing it and I couldn't. And that was horrible. And
Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, those are the hard ones to.
Oh yeah,
those are the hard ones to do.
I could sing it. I could sing it when I was sober, and I knew I could sing it when I was sober. But I was so scared to do it. I went up drunk and I made an arse of it. I butchered it, and so much so that the club that was doing this night, well, I deliberately went back there the next weekend, and said, right, it was a rock club, like. And I was a regular. I was like, right, get the rock karaoke on. And they're like, no, because you're going to sing that song again, aren't you? And I went, I have not touched a drink. I am not touching a drink tonight. I want to sing this song, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication. I want to sing this song, and I will show you how good I actually am. And I did it. He just turned around and he went, mate, how come you were so shite last night, but last week, but you're so good tonight? And I was like, because I'm sober. And then that was it. It was just like, no. If I'm ever going to go, it's also easier. Be sober.
It's also easier, to be fair, to sing Chili Peppers than it is to do like Guns N' Roses, because I mean, with Chili Peppers, I mean they're really good, and I mean, and they don't have the complete fluctuations of the voice. I mean, it's kind of the same. Yeah, you know what to expect, and you know there's no sudden change. You don't have to fluctuate your voice a whole lot singing a song like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I knew that as well. That's why I was like, okay, if I'm going to redeem my reputation in this place, because I was a regular, well, I need to make sure that I redeem it in the best way I can. And I was like, I know this song. I know I'm good at it. I've done it before on karaoke, drunk and sober, and been told I've been good. So I know I can do this. Well, and that was it. And it was just
my weakness was the song "Get Off My Cloud" by the Rolling Stones.
I used
to absolutely go after that. Like, this is during my drinking days, and I was younger. I was thinner. I could do the Mick Jagger moves easier.
Yeah, the strut.
And now, ironically enough, I'm sober. I'm healthier in that regard, But like if I try to do the Mick Jagger moves right now, I could probably still sing it. But if I try to do the moves right now, I would probably severely hurt myself or strain something.
Wow, just be like my hip. Which makes you wonder what
I need Keith's blood, man. I need to get the blood, and whatever Keith Richards uses, I have to get it in me so I can start singing again.
Keith Richards
been doing this shit for 60 years, man.
Keith Richards just turns up at people.
I gotta go for another 60 years.
Oh my god, that's absolutely amazing. So in fairness, Keith Richards, he just turns up at any dying celebrity's bedside and just takes their energy. That's how he keeps going. It's like he should have been dead 60 years ago and he is still going. He's probably like 150.
He probably is going to outlive us all. Like if he doesn't make it to 100. I mean, the easy money would have been Betty White make it to 100 and Keith Richards not. And now I think that's just completely turned upside down. Keith Richards will make it to like that Japanese guy, person who lived to like 119.
Yeah.
Like Keith is gonna blow past that one.
Definitely.
Probably.
Well, and he'll still be on stage. He'll be on stage doing it. Well, it'll work.
Keith's got these animatronics now. He's just moving around a lot. He's just moving around and playing using his electric arms.
Oh man, it's like our the Queen over here. I'm positive she's been cloned at least 3 times.
Oh, there's similar theories about Joe Biden over here. So you're not alone.
Well, the theory with Joe Biden is that he went after saving the world from Thanos, he went back in time to live out his life, then ran for president. Because he just looks like old man Cap.
That's plausible.
It works.
That's very plausible. It's like
theory.
He's like the Paul McCartney of presidents. If you listen to if you play some of Biden's speeches backwards, he's saying, "I'm dead."
He's like, "I'm dead. I'm dead. For the love of God, just kill me." It was like a second he realized what shitstorm he was inheriting. He's like, "I can't do this. Just kill me already." Why is Tina Fey keeping me alive? I have no idea why I picked Tina Fey. She was on a top 10 list I was listening to earlier on. Sorry, Tina Fey. I doubt she even listens, but yeah, it's noted. I have apologized to Tina Fey.
Obligatory disclaimer, duly noted.
Yes, definitely. Well, we have no problems with Tina Fey. Well, there's plenty of other comedians we could have problems with. So, speaking of comedy, what gigs have you got coming up, my friend? What sell your wares.
I have got a podcast, fittingly called Tom Myers versus the Rest of the World. It is available on it's available on Spotify for the 2 remaining Joe Rogan bros who still listen to me. It's also on Apple, iHeartRadio, pretty much whatever your preferred podcast platform is. And my website is tommyers.us. Myers is spelled MYERS. You can find my Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, my TikTok. That's on there. And I run a couple nights a week. I'm actually running some Zoom comedy mics / workshops / joke hashing out sessions, nice. Whatever you want to call them. So I'm looking to do theme shows for those. And
you okay for a public? You okay for a
they're all on Zoom.
Yeah,
they're all on Zoom. And I mean, I know I haven't really put a link out, so you're listening. That's a great idea, Tom. Go ahead and keep telling more of those about those projects that we can't see or hear.
They will all be in the description below when it comes out, my friends. They will all be there. We will be ready to roll. You will be sold. Well, as long as you have room for a fat middle-aged ginger guy. from Scotland?
Oh, from Scotland, okay. Because if you want one from Maryland, that's already taken by me. Sorry. So,
it's okay, man. It's like you're like a cooler version of Paul Giamatti. It's brilliant.
That's going on my bio.
One of the things that we've been doing lately on this podcast is we've been trying to find out who were the bastard love child of in a celebrity. In my case, it was a cross between Frankie Boyle, Scottish comedian, and Chris Evans, the British comedian. Both ginger hair, both wear these type of glasses. One had a beard. It made sense. It worked. Had Bruce Lipsky on. Well, I said that he was the bastard love child of Ray Romano and James Cromwell.
I could see that, especially with his voice. Yeah.
Yes, his voice was so. I was like, are you doing the next Ice Age film? I was like, well, it was absolutely brilliant. A guy I had on from Scotland, Endless Celts podcast. He looked like the bastard love child of Sylvester Stallone and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Nice.
Well, there we go. And so for Tom Myers, we have the bastard love child of we've definitely got Paul Giamatti in there. We definitely have some Paul Giamatti. And I will get one for the end of another one. We'll need to. What I'll do is I'll ask you the last question I ask all my guests, since it's a mental health podcast, and while you're giving me the answer, I will be analyzing that and thinking who we could cross this bastard love child with. So if you could give one,
does it have to be? Oh, that's right. It doesn't have to be a comedian, but maybe like Paul Giamatti and I don't know, maybe Keith Olbermann, because he has that sort of massive head, and my forehead gives me the Paul Giamatti hairline. So like maybe that's where it's that little.
If we were going by hairline, I would just have to compare it to my Uncle Andrew in Scotland. He's got the exact same hairline. It went that way, and that could just be. There we go with the bastard love child, Paul Giamatti, and my Uncle Andrew. There we go.
And then people are like, okay, what does his Uncle Andrew look like? And then he got to no, really, he does. Then he got to go through a bunch of pictures. No, here, see it? Yeah, there you go.
How about I know my Uncle Andrew listens to this podcast. If I can get permission to use one of your images just for the hairline, they will get it. If not, I'll let you know who it is, and you'll get the reference. It'll be fine. You've got Paul Giamatti in there. You've got the star power.
Inside baseball.
Yeah, you've got the star power in Giamatti, my friend. It's all good.
There you go. I can't go wrong there.
Yep. So if you could give one piece of advice to anybody struggling with mental health issues at this point in time, what would that piece of advice be, and why?
My piece of advice would be just it never hurts to seek help. I mean, obviously, mental illness, especially around COVID, certainly isn't rare. It's sort of the silent epidemic or pandemic, as it were. So, man, there's a lot of people who are willing to talk about stuff. You know, and just for comics, when they just need to treat it like they're asking someone for help writing a joke or something. Only you're just trying to write out a solution to whatever problem you've got. But with me, or in my case, I've just developed, like, in addition to the fan base I have this group of haters, which you've brought up before. So just get people who hate you. And if you're anything like me, first off, God help you. If you're anything like me, then that will motivate you to go on. Like, there's the saying, too legit to quit. Like, to use an American expression, I'm too big to fail now.
That's the best way. That's the best analogy.
So if you really want to help, get a bunch of people who fucking hate you, and you will be on your way to positive mental health. That sounds like a really fucked up advice. But
at the same time, the way you said it was brilliant. Oh my God. You have got to use that in one of your sets. Oh my God, that was fantastic.
Oh, thank God we're recording this shit.
Oh, definitely, man, definitely. Like, well, the running theme with comedians that I've had on is that we've managed to find something that they can go, oh, I can use this. Well, whether they've done it or not is a different story, but at least I can say that I've done it. The key one that I use is for a British comedian, Maggie Whitehouse, her name is, well, and she's a vicar. Well, and so what you instantly think if you're going to get a vicar on a show, you're like, oh, this is going to be an interesting experience. And it was really interesting. Like her dad ran a steam railway. Well, she went to China and wrote books about the Chinese steam engines. Well, and then she went to what she became an equestrian, well, for horse riding, show jumping, and all that kind of stuff. Well, as well as becoming a minister, then going into stand-up comedy. So my line to her was, I was like, so you went from shoveling coal to shoveling shit. Well, and she just burst out laughing. She's like, I need to use that next time. I was like, no, that if you use it, great. But it's also the title of your autobiography now. It's got to be. Well, I don't know where she's used
That's amazing. That's amazing because I've had like non-comedians on as guests on my podcast, and believe it or not, they've been remarkably great at just kind of rolling with, because the podcast that I do, it discusses, it's a current events themed podcast. Like it's sort of a combination between like the Daily Show and a panel discussion show on a news program. So
I have listened to it, my
friend.
Too. I really enjoy.
Okay,
I do enjoy it.
Everybody else should as well. So yeah,
yep. So, there is better than Joe Rogan on Spotify. Trust me.
Again, that's going in my bio. And but the non-comics have been able to roll with the comedy very well. I mean, a lot of the non-comedian guests I've been able to get on. That's the one thing that's really surprised me about that. Pleasantly surprised me.
Yeah, and that shows you how good you are as a host, my friend. Because one thing a lot of people do say is that if you're a good host, you can coordinate that so it doesn't feel like you're being, like on stage at a comedy gig or you're in like an intense discussion panel. If you just allow the conversation to flow naturally and keep it organic, well, covering the 1 or 2 points that you want to cover, it works well. And you do that really well. It's why I was really that's why I was really looking forward to having you on the podcast, because I had a feeling that we would click because our styles are quite similar in that sense. And Matt, obviously you're kind of in the higher up level than me, but at the same time, you were really good.
I'm not really that high up. Like if you're
you're saying you're at too big to fail stage. I'll get back to you.
please aspire to be go further than me, please.
Well, I'm aiming for perfectly middle. I'm like, you ever seen Futurama? And there was like that, it was like that planet. It was just all great. It was just all gray people, and they were just like always neutral with everything. That's basically me. I was like, the guys that go, all I know is my gut says maybe.
Around here, like in this country, we call that Congress. Just like, no, we're not. No.
Yeah. It's like my running gag is like, if I die, tell my wife hello. I heard that line in Futurama from that planet, and I was like, that's amazing. That speaks to me. I must keep it. And I have. Well, I just replace it every now and then. Go and tell my wife it was interesting.
Just tell my wife, we're good.
Yeah. It's like, tell my kids, one of you was planned.
Oh.
It's funny because technically it's true. They're twins.
See, that should be the setup, the twins part.
Yeah. That's definitely, I'll be mining a lot of gold from them, but they're bloody hilarious. Well, now we come to Baltimore, Maryland's favorite segment, Ask Andrew Anything. For my regular listeners, this is where, after me grilling my guests for 3 separate takes of Zoom, fuck you, Zoom, this is where we get to turn the tables around, and the guest gets to ask me a question. I have to be 100% honest. It could go well, it could go badly, but that's all part of the fun. So do you have a question for this mental ginger? I always stretch like I've got to be prepared for like a colonoscopy or something, but it's like as if it's like I'm preparing to get
turn around and bend over, son. It ain't gonna hurt too much.
It's like I'm preparing to get shafted. Let's go for this.
Well, my question has to do with how things are over on in your neck of the woods, as it were. Like, I'm told that it's really tough to get into comedy in Scotland. Like, I've heard Scottish audiences are absolutely brutal. How much of that is true?
I would say 70%. Like, I wouldn't say it's difficult. It's just as difficult to break into a Scottish circuit as it is in any other circuit. As far as I mean, I've only had very limited time on the circuit. I'm not even at double digits yet. But out of the gigs that I've had two that have been three now that have been absolute dumpster fires. They've been awful. And just knocked my confidence completely and just been ready to go. But I seem to be like the Godfather 3 of comedy. Like, I keep trying to get out, they keep trying to pull me back in.
Yeah.
They're like, honestly, you don't suck. He actually does suck. You'll make us look good. You don't suck. Come on. You introduce us. Yeah, you'll be our pet project. But I come on, I die badly. They go, oh, give up from didn't he try his best? Here's the good stuff. They're like, oh, but you did great. We want you back because you made me look fucking awesome. Yeah. But I jest, of course. It's only twice that's happened.
Oh, okay.
But
only twice.
Only twice. But then again, I've got a batting average of 8, so yeah. But I've enjoyed it on the time, mainly just to get to meet new people and get to do stuff like talk about my life with people and get a wee bit of time out from being me, essentially. Well, I mean, I am me when I go on stage. I'm just a heightened version of myself. But just getting to have that interaction, hear about other comedians' experiences, hear some fresh comedy and how much it's progressed since the time I've been away, it's really good. And then I say to them, come on to my podcast as a guest. And they think, oh, okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. It'll be all right. Well, he probably still doesn't know what he's talking about and I'll look great. And then they come on and go, oh, fuck, he's actually good at this. And I'm like,
well, that's the initial reaction, is like, oh, another comedian who wants to invite me on a podcast to talk about comedy. Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, great.
Yep. And then they get it and they're like, oh my God, wait, this is actually good. I've had some great reviews, such as it was better than I expected.
Hey, take it.
Yep. Another one, I actually enjoyed myself.
See, I think like a lot of the stuff like with Zoom comedy, it started during the pandemic, and I think it's still going strong for the most part, because the rooms that I run now are on. I mean, they're on Zoom. The shows that I do twice a week, and I find like that's given me a lot more opportunities to just work out new stuff. I mean, not living in a place like New York or Los Angeles or even Chicago, Zoom is a great way. I mean, you can easily do at the height of the pandemic, you could do like 2 or 3 sets in one day. But now I'm like, you can do like I've done a live show and then I've come back and I've done something on Zoom, and then vice versa. Like one of my panelists will record an episode of my podcast and then go off and do a live show. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I think everybody said, oh, the COVID restrictions are going to kill comedy. Jokes will be outlawed. Like, no, I mean, there's other avenues for it. Like, stop being such a gloomy Gus about it.
Yeah. Well, and the way that I kind of looked at it was like when people say, well, like, yeah, we can't say anything now, nothing's going to be funny. Well, someone told me recently, if that's your argument, then you're not a good comedian. because you don't need controversy to be funny. Well, and it is very true.
Or if you can bring up something controversial, but like if there's no punchline there, if there's no joke in it, then you just sound like an asshole. And you just sound like a racist, a misogynist dick is what you sound like. Now, I heard it described as it's not cancel culture, it's accountability culture. I mean, I self-censor myself on a number of occasions. Like, okay, I could say this, and then, but is it really funny? And then I put it off to the side, and then I bring it back, work on it, and okay, it just needed time and a couple rewrites. That's all it needs.
Yeah.
I mean, if your goal is to bill yourself as someone who's offensive, then you get mad when people are offended. Well, it's your own self-defeating prophecy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and it's something that I kind of found like doing the couple of times that I've been on the circuit is that I think you have to be really aware to apologize when you need to, and then also sometimes apologize when you don't need to, because it shows that you're learning as well. It's why a lot of people worry when I say that I don't like edit out or censor like my podcast, and they're like, why don't you do it? And I'm like, because I need to hold myself accountable, but constantly. I am unedited. I don't apologize for being unedited, but if I do say something that does upset people, let me know and I will apologize. And I'll apologize on the mic. Because especially since I got offered the job with the TV presenter, I'm very aware that people like to go into people's pasts and try and find stuff from X amount of years ago and bring it up and go, you're still like this, you're still evil. And I'm like, no, people can, I'm an advocate of people can change, people can grow and learn. As if they make the same mistakes in the present day, then you really got to reevaluate yourself. And it was one of a couple of things that I've seen about that, and it was the one that really got me was the Liam Neeson thing, where he'd said that it's to kind of prepare for a role, we'd had to get into a space where he remembered that someone that he knew had got assaulted by someone, and it was a black person, and he went out, trying to look for someone to, a black person to beat the crap out of. And that got clipped everywhere, rightfully so. I
remember that. Yeah.
Rightfully so. But
you didn't have to say it was a black person. You could have just said,
it's like
you could just said, I went to look for somebody.
It was right, but it was rightfully so that it was called out. But it didn't. Remind you of the far at the end where he realized himself what he was doing was wrong, who he was going after was wrong, and why he was doing it was wrong. And he went out and got help to make sure that he could get better and not go down that road again. So they jumped down the throat of, 100%, everything they said was wrong. 100% what he thought was wrong. But they didn't give as much attention to, he realized the problem and went out to fix it and self-help and change and grow. And that's the point. You can change, you can grow. Just don't, as long as you can hold yourself accountable, no one else should. And that was the thing. And it was just something I was like, why is no one else picking up on that as much? Because the negative story got more attention than the positive outcome that he was trying to achieve.
And then using the idea of being canceled as a cloak.
Well, it was just
a label.
It just seems to be that thing. It's I just didn't understand that there was there's some things where if you look at and they go, oh, it's this thing and this thing is bad and this person's evil now, then you look into it and go, wait, this was from 15, 20 years ago. None of us were in the enlightened headspace we are in now. But things move on, time moves on, we learn, we grow. That is the point of life. You keep growing, you keep learning. Every day is a school day. So when I get this job and they go, oh, well, what can we find on this weird ginger guy? I'm like, it's all out there. It's already there. Everybody knows about it. And they know about it. And I still got the fucking job. Deal with it, guys. Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I had fun.
Yeah. Like the first time I got laid, it was so worth the wait. And
I'm glad I could remind you of such a wonderful experience.
Yeah, yeah. And not like the first time I got laid. It was very positive.
Hey.
Yeah, there we go. Worked out well. Well, so my faithful followers, please check out Tom's podcast, Tom Myers versus the rest of the world. That connects for the full title. Because I always just go with Tom Myers. That's because once you follow it, I go Tom Myers. Up there he is. When you do the search, once you follow, you're just like put the first two words you're in. So look him up on Spotify, look him up in all the places. I will put links in the description once they are sent to me. Just show him some love, man. He's freaking awesome. And he's fellow ginger as well. Come on, we got to support the species here. We are slowly becoming extinct. We are going to work on this. Oh man.
And I know, and my ideal partner is a non-ginger, so it's partially my fault. Sorry.
in fairness, my wife's a brunette, and we created two blonde boys. So there you go.
Man, what are you gonna do?
Just keep shagging other people till I find gingers. There we go. Until next time, my faithful followers, take care, stay safe. Bye-bye.